All right, so I have Hugo Alonso back, and today we have a great topic. We're going to talk about how money is a tool, and if you only see money as a tool to like buy things and use it to purchase things, and you're not truly fully understanding the benefits of how money can impact your life. So welcome back, Hugo.
Hey, what's up, Mark? Thank you for having me back, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So this is just something that we kind of been going back and forth about. And I see it happening to a lot of people that I work with, people that I've grown up with. But, we're kind of just in this cycle where some people, you just see money as, you get it from your work, you go out and buy things, and that's your kind of whole idea of what money is used for. But it seems like, when I read a lot of things that you post and tweet about, you have a different view of how money can be useful or be used as a tool.
Yeah, I definitely do see or think that money is a tool. What you mentioned as far as people work, they get paid and they go spend it, right? So that's one thing that keeps people poor, um, is exchanging your time for money, right? If you look at all the wealthy people, it's their time or it's their money working for them. If you ask most wealthy people, and I have personally, as far as like why they have a private jet, one of their answers is similarly is always because of the time they get back. So you and me, you're in Hawaii, I'm in California, right? So to fly to New York is probably the longest flight we can take in domestically or Boston or whatever. We have to be at the airport 1 hour before. Probably take us another hour after the plane lands to get our luggage and find an Uber or whatever. So I can see that definitely makes sense, right? You're in a private jet, you could drive your car up to the plane. I did that once. It was so cool. And yeah, I took pictures. And you don't have to worry about at that time. I didn't have to wear a mask.
Wait,
I have
wait,
to wear a
wait.
mask. I have to wear a,
Do you have a
your
private jet?
seatbelt. No, 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 no.
Okay, okay. I
Not
was like,
yet.
who am I
One
talking
day,
to?
one day, one day I will have a private jet. But yeah, as far as all those rules that they make, sit upright, put your seatbelt on, put your mask on at that time, right? Like once you have like those rules don't apply. You drive all the way up to the plane. Someone goes, "Here you go, sir." They open the door for you. You walk out. They drive your car back. Like, they valet the whole thing. Sit wherever, sit any pose, legs up, legs crossed, lying down on the floor if you want. But one thing I learned doing that was um how much these wealthier people value their time and why they get a private jet. So they can take that flight from LA to New York and do it in 3 hours, 3.5 hours, versus you and me taking 5.5 hours plus an extra 1 or 2 hours to get there and get our stuff and go to where we need to go. Um, but yeah, so that's one way they use it as a tool, right? It's to buy their time back. And if there's one thing I love more than money, it's time. Like I really enjoy my time, even if it's my alone time, even if I'm not doing anything. Like it's me. So like to work right now, right? I don't even rush to work. I have to be there at a certain time. I rushed to this interview and I was like, oh damn, Mark, why? I never rushed in
Trust
my
me,
life and now I'm rushing.
everyone's late, man. You, Joe Farrell, every time we have an interview, you're late.
Yeah. See, so there. So yeah. So hope to get better about that. But yeah, time is something I value a lot. And if my whole brand is talking about building the nest first and being the best version of myself, I feel the more time I have, then the better version of myself I can be, and the better the nest I can build, right? So I can go to my kid's soccer game or concert or whatever they're into, even if it's ice skating. Like at least
Yeah.
that time allows me to be there. And there was a TV show that mentioned that good parenting, 70% of good parenting is just being there, right? So to me, it's not just being there, but it's being there and then being actively involved, right? So if I could be the one putting on skates too and falling in while I'm teaching them, like, that'll be priceless in this
Yeah.
imaginary scenario. But yeah, money is a tool. I hope people out there don't see money as something evil. I see a lot where people go, "Oh, money is the root of all evil." That's not the case. If they're taking that from the Bible actually says the love of money is the root of all evil. So don't forget that part. Money is a tool that you can do a lot of good things with. So just to go back to your first or how you open up the interview, is a lot of people see it like that, exchanging time for money. Now they can go spend something, whether it's the weekend, whether it's, depreciating assets. But I really hope people start seeing that money is a tool that you can do a lot of good things. And I really hope that these videos that we're posting, Mark, people can become more financially literate, being that I see financial illiteracy or the lack of financial literacy leading to many problems we have today.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I love how you kind of touched on, people see money as evil, and I hear that all the time. And people think you're being greedy, or we don't need to behave that way to be successful. Chasing money, but like you mentioned, it's not the money that people are after. Most people, it's the time that they can get back by having money, because a lot of people, they don't realize people that have money are doing a lot of good things with it, building hospitals or donating money to charity. So the more money you have, there's more good that you can actually do with it. And it's the time, like you said. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And you kind of brought up a sore subject for me, talking about spending money on depreciating assets and things like that. And that's really was my downfall, I would say, or one of my biggest mistakes. When I was younger, is I was really big into working out and fitness and everything. And
Oh, nice.
I spent a lot of money on gym equipment, exercise equipment. I mean, if
Oh, yeah.
yeah, if you've seen my home gym that I have, I mean, I love it. I mean, it's great. It's super convenient. But the smarter thing to do would have been, to buy assets that produce cash flow and then use that money to buy my gym equipment, instead of, like you're saying, you go to work, get your money, get your paycheck, and then you go buy these things that you think are assets, but they're actually depreciating in value. And now, like, if I want to try and sell one of these pieces of equipment, I'm not going to get what I paid for it. So that definitely was something that I wish I could do over. But that's kind of where my story is and my journey is, and I'm hopefully that I can help other people not make those type of mistakes that I've made.
Yeah, for sure. I think we all had those mistakes. Instant gratification is very hard to get out of sometimes, especially now with social media. Um, and you did a good thing. You invested in yourself, in your health. Um, but like you said, right now, if you try to sell those things, you're not gonna get the same return that you paid for. Um, so one thing that I try to tell people on my socials is if there's something you want, you know, acquire an asset that can eventually produce that cash flow to get you what you want. So if I want a brand new Lambo and the payment's going to be $1,800 a month, then I better own a property that cash flows me rental income of $1,800 a month. So if I don't feel like going to work that day, I don't have to worry about not making or not being able to make that payment. Um, but yeah, that's why I push financial literacy a lot, because I see the lack of financial literacy um, impacting families a lot. And I was one of those kids that was impacted by the lack of the lack of financial literacy. I was one of those kids that was impacted by the lack of financial literacy, and I don't want other kids out there to live what I had to live, or other families to go through what I had to go through. There shouldn't be a kid out there that should be chasing down a bus to get to school or chasing down a bus to get to work. Um, Especially now out here in Cali with the growing population of homelessness. I mean, it's not a safe place, you know? So if I can teach someone about financial literacy, then maybe their kid could avoid taking the bus to school, because that parent will not have more time to be able to take them to school safe and sound. They know where they dropped them off. You never know who's on the bus and what could happen on the bus, what kind of weapon they have on the bus. I mean, we've seen lately big news of things going down on the bus. And it could just be a matter of being at the wrong place at the wrong time. And I know as a parent, I wouldn't want to put my kid in a situation like that. Hence why, hence why I teach financial literacy, and hopefully people viewing this can pick up a little bit of that and become more financially aware. And then money is actually a tool that you can use to your benefit.
Yeah, let's unwrap that a little bit because before we got on air, you had some great like statistics and data talking about like you know, parenting as far as how money issues are a big driver in a lot of things that can affect marriages or relationships or you know single parent homes. So can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Right. So if you ask people like what's wrong with the country or where a lot of these problems are at, the common denominator is, yeah, it could be the lack of a father figure at home, but it's actually uh, financial illiteracy. So if you look at one of the top two reasons for divorce in the US, um, money problems is number two, right? So I think in Cali a few years ago, it was like a 79% divorce rate. I'm sure it's higher now, right? So there are now more kids in America that are growing up in single parent households. And that number is the greatest in any country, like per capita, like compared to the world. There's more kids growing up here in single parent family homes than any other country in the world. And like I mentioned in other previous talks, right? We don't have control over a lot of things, right? But we do have control, at least in this sense, we have control of what we say on this podcast and hopefully spark a message to someone and change lives that way or have a positive influence that way. Like that, we do have control over. So the common denominator is financial illiteracy. So that's the number two reason for divorce. Um, the reason for divorce is the reason why we're one of the top countries that grew up with single parent family homes. If you look at who's in the jail system or who drops out of school, or who's committing the most crimes, the common denominator is a single parent family home, which is due to having the highest divorce rate, which is due to financial illiteracy. So if I could make the world a better place, it's teaching people about money and getting the message across in this video that it's actually a good thing and it's a tool that you can use to your benefit to do whatever you want to do, right? So if you look at the other reason for divorce, it's lack of communication. You know, as a man, it could be embarrassing to tell your significant other, I don't have $10 to buy you ice cream today. Like that, anyone watching, like that's really tough for a man to be able to communicate that with their partner. I don't have $10 to buy you ice cream today. Right. So then all those lack of communications things start, which is another reason for divorce. So yeah, I hope anyone listening can really take away from this video is that money is a tool that you can use for a lot of good things. And I hope you keep following me and Mark so we can get more financially literate together.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, it all kind of circles back to freeing up time or buying your time back. You know, you're talking about like, you know, husband and wives communicating, or, you know, those are issues that come up. But, you know, if you are not always working or you're not running around from job to job, or, you know, you have more time to actually sit down and have a nice dinner with each other or have more free time to go travel, you know, like you're saying, that helps with communication and the relationship. And I
Yeah.
like how you talk about like it's a tool. And we also talked about this too, like how it even can impact your health, right? You know, if you have more money, you're able to buy better foods or have better dinners or buy more quality things where you're not rushing around having to go to the drive through or eat while you're going up an elevator or whatnot, right? So it's a tool that makes life better and kind of impacts everything. It just has a connection to everything. And I love that.
Yeah, it really does have a connection to everything. So when you mentioned the health part, if you look at the stats for divorce as well, weight gain is one of the top reasons. And weight gain has to do a lot with what you mentioned. You know, someone probably has to pick up a second job now, right? So like I know when I was going to school and then, work and then school, like I was eating unhealthy. I wasn't sleeping that much, which all contribute to weight gain, right? Because I'm doing homework or I'm rushing in between classes. So I would just eat whatever burger was already made at the fast food restaurant on campus, which wasn't the best health decision. But like I mentioned in previous episodes, right, I want to do all this before the kids come, before I start the family. That way I'm the only one that's impacted. So when you also mentioned about money and being able to have time back and not rush in between jobs and sit down and have a nice dinner, yeah, the lack of intimacy is another top reason of why divorce rates are so high. Like if you look at the stats of why people get divorced, lack of intimacy is another one, right? So that comes like, yeah, if you have a second job where you're pulling, 12-hour shifts, like, yeah, you may not be in the mood, right? Or you come home and, the house isn't clean because everyone was working. So it's no one's fault necessarily, but yeah, it leads to that. It's a whole domino effect. So if you can use money as a tool, yeah, at first you're definitely going to have to work for money, but eventually you can put that money to work for you. So use that as a tool to work it for you so you can have control of your life, your time, your health, your marriage, your relationships, and your family.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that too, because like a lot of things, people, I think, if someone has like a personal chef or a house cleaner or a yard person, people are always like, oh, look at that kind of greedy person or rich, evil person who's paying for these services. But people, I think a lot of times these people are not doing it because they're evil or they just have money to blow. They realize that it's their time. Like they're doing these things because it frees up more time for them and they can do the things that are more important. And that's where money is, like you're saying, it's a tool that allows you to get more time back.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because you're right. We talked about this either in this video or previous videos about how people see it as something evil. And they're like, oh, look at that guy. He's hiring someone to mow his lawn or, you know, but like you mentioned, time is more valuable than money. Money comes and goes, time just goes. It never comes. So you got to make it the best, you got to make the most of it when you do have it. But that person is also employing someone else, right? And maybe that person is a different financial journey where they're still exchanging time for money, but now they're able to put food on the table because you are able to hire them to do your yard or someone to wash your windows, or hire a service to come to your house and clean your car versus you using your time to go wait in line while they clean it.
Yeah.
Um, so that's another aspect that I'm glad you brought up. You have the ability to employ people that eventually, with that, they can put food on the table for their family. Um, I always saw a job as a blessing. So I hope other people start seeing it that way too. It's definitely a blessing. It's just what you do with it, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you're saying, it's money impacts so many things, and I forget exactly how the saying goes, but usually, good people with money usually do good things, and bad person with money is still going to be a bad person, right? So it doesn't really change a lot of people if they have more money or less money. They're still gonna, but it just allows you to do more good with it, right? And so I think that's what we're both striving for is helping people realize that money is a tool and it's not as evil as people like to try to make it out to be.
Yeah, for sure. Well said, Mark.
Yeah, well, I love this topic. I mean, this is this is hits home. There's a lot of things that I wish I could do different. A lot of things I've learned from, and even relationship wise, I do see how money can impact a lot of things, and it can definitely help with relationships. And hopefully, like you said, people love what we're doing here, and hopefully they get some little nuggets on how to improve their vision on what money is as a tool, their financial literacy and whatnot. But yeah, let's keep doing this, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks, man.
Have a good one.
Okay.